Hello, back again on the Top Recap channel. This time I will tell a movie's entitled Eliminators. Let's get straight into the storyline. The story begins by showing a security guard currently working at a bank in London. He used to be a former American federal agent, but to participate in the witness protection program, he had to leave his previous profession and move from America to London. He also changed his real name from Martin Parker to Thomas. Thomas now lives with his 8-year-old daughter, Charlie. His morning routine is the same as any other parent, waking his daughter up in the morning, taking her to school, and returning to work.
Right, you have a good day at school, okay, Angel?
He spends a lot of time at the security post reading a magazine at work. He also watches CCTV footage of his workplace. Thomas then returned home at night and put his daughter to bed. However, when he entered the dining room, he saw the reflection of a car's headlights shining brightly towards his house. Thomas ran to see who was coming, but as he prepared to open the door, several masked men barged in and beat him with baseball bats. Thomas woke up from his stupor not long after. He immediately asked the 3 robbers who had just attacked him why they were attacking him.
Try anything, huh?
Finally, one of the robbers removed his mask and said that they wanted a package of cocaine from Thomas's house. Thomas, who had no knowledge of cocaine deliveries, assumed that they had the wrong address. However, the 3 were not convinced by Thomas's statement and threatened to kill Charlie. Thomas then asked them to read his name from the electricity bill at his house. Finally, when the robbers realized they were at the wrong address, they looked stunned. However, the robbers, who had been unmasked, were convinced that Thomas would report them to the police. As a result, they planned to kill Thomas and his family.
I'm sorry.
As the situation worsened, Thomas then stole a gun from one of the masked robbers who was nearby and shot all 3 of them one by one. After the situation calmed down, Thomas planned to call the police to report the attack. Unfortunately, he fainted while calling with his mobile phone due to the beating he had received earlier. Charlie shouted for her father, and soon, the sound of police car sirens could be heard outside the house. Thomas ended up in the hospital the next day, with one of his hands tied to the side of the bed. Shortly after, a detective inspector named Quinn arrived and informed him that he had been arrested for the murder of 3 strangers in his home. The charges shocked Thomas, who claims that he killed the 3 robbers in self-defense. Quinn further states that Thomas's identity cannot be identified, suggesting he is an illegal resident. The detective also revealed that Charlie had been under the care of Child Social Services. While watching TV in the evening, Thomas later saw a news broadcast that featured his real name and a photo of him before moving to London, as well as his profile covered in the news. Later, a female nurse entered the ward and handed him a phone, saying that his lawyer would be calling soon. The lawyer was Ray Monroe, an old friend of the federal agency. Ray said he was on his way to London and that he would meet him at the hospital in 2 hours. Ray also warned that he was obliged to reveal Thomas's real name to the London police so that he could be released. Thomas then asked for a pen and paper to write down Ray's phone number, but he accidentally dropped the pen. He seized this opportunity to grab a paperclip. Once the police officer and nurse came out of his room, he used the clip to open the handcuffs easily. Then, he attacked a police officer standing in front of his room and quickly immobilized 2 additional officers standing guard in the hospital hallway. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a meeting between 2 high-end American mobsters and an illegal arms dealer named Cooper was also seen in a room. The 2 mobsters were angry and demanded their money back because the weapons they bought from Cooper were of low quality.
I'm getting more money.
Not believing what the 2 men were saying, Cooper then demonstrated the weapon he was selling, pointing the gun at the 2 mobsters. As it turns out, the gun works fine, and both mobsters are killed. Cooper's assistant, a sadistic-looking woman, enters the room and shows the news about Thomas on her mobile phone. The assistant informs him that Thomas has arrived in the UK. Cooper turns out to be Thomas's father-in-law, and he aims to kill his son-in-law and kidnap Charlie, whom he plans to make the future successor of his weapons company. Cooper immediately contacts a famous hitman named Bishop in mainland Europe. Cooper asked Bishop to kill his son-in-law and kidnap his grandson unharmed. In exchange for a large sum, Bishop immediately agreed to the request. He immediately tracked down Thomas's location in London. Meanwhile, Charlie is accompanied by a female detective agent named Stacy at a child welfare department. Inspector Quinn, a fellow detective who interrogated Thomas at the hospital, enters the room and tells Stacy they will leave and take Charlie to another location. Later, shortly after they left, Thomas arrived and immobilized a male receptionist. According to the information he received from the receptionist, his daughter was upstairs. On his way upstairs, he saw Bishop hacking into the computer in the room. When Thomas realized this, he ran out of the room. Bishop then rushed over, armed with a gun, and searched for Thomas on every floor of the building.
For me to bring you back to him in a coffin.
Thomas then returned to the room where he had seen Bishop earlier. Later, he checked the computer database for information about his daughter. He immediately deleted his daughter's data from the computer and destroyed Bishop's mobile phone, which had been used to hack into the computer. After that, he ran out of the building and got into a taxi parked in front of him. Shortly afterward, Bishop was furious when he realized Thomas had escaped in a taxi. He immediately gave chase in his high-tech vehicle. Bishop could locate and communicate with the taxi driver using the computer in his car. Bishop posed as a police officer and warned that the passenger the taxi driver was carrying was a wanted criminal. Then, he asked the driver to pull over at a petrol station so he could arrest Thomas. Unknowingly, the taxi driver followed the instructions and pulled over at a petrol station. When Bishop arrived at the gas station, he realized that no one was in the taxi. He then went into the petrol station office to view the CCTV footage. In the video, Thomas is seen getting out of the taxi and jumping onto the back of a yellow truck parked there. Bishop immediately chased after the yellow truck. As he got closer, Thomas realized that Bishop was in the back of the truck and chased after him. Thomas immediately jumped out of the vehicle and into the nearby cable car. Inside the cable car, he saw two muscular men and a businessman as he boarded the train. Meanwhile, Bishop, who was late for the cable car, pulled out some cash and offered the two men a $10,000 reward if they could catch Thomas. Hearing the reward, the two muscular men immediately attacked Thomas without thinking, and a fight broke out between them. While the other passenger, a businessman, looked cornered and scared. But eventually, Thomas managed to knock the two big men unconscious. Soon after, he borrowed a phone and called Ray, who agreed to meet him at the cable car station in 4 minutes. Ray sped off to meet his partner on time, only to find Bishop waiting at the station fully armed. When Thomas appeared, Bishop continued to shoot at him until Thomas ran into the street. Fortunately, Ray arrived just in time, and Thomas ran into his car. Ray realized that Thomas was wounded by Bishop's gunfire and drove him to an apartment to have his wound treated. When Ray and Thomas arrive at the apartment, Ray's boss calls to warn him that the person targeting Thomas is Bishop, an ex-military man, now a very dangerous hitman. As it turns out, Ray and his boss are protecting Thomas because they intend to arrest Cooper, who is involved in the biggest illegal gun-running case in America. Meanwhile, Bishop continues to use the sophisticated computer in his car to track Thomas and Ray's whereabouts. Using GPS, he can track Ray's car. He immediately rushes to the apartment where they are hiding. As Thomas and Ray prepare to leave to meet Charlie, they are stopped in the corridor by Bishop, who appears from the lift and shoots at them. They hide behind the hallway door and return to their room. Then, they grab their weapons and attack Bishop. A shootout is inevitable, with Bishop continuing to fire at them, but unfortunately, Ray is shot. Thomas rushes Ray to the car, and they escape from the apartment. Unfortunately, Ray could not be saved as he bled out and died in the car.
Ray! Just keep the... I'm sorry, man.
Meanwhile, Bishop continued to chase and eventually found the car parked in the hallway. When he got out and looked inside, he found only Ray's body. There was no sign of Thomas. Bishop then returned to his car and saw Thomas in the rearview mirror with a gun pointed at his neck, telling him to keep driving to the docks. At the docks, Bishop is then tied to a wooden post. Thomas asks Bishop to call Cooper and tell him that he has killed Thomas and kidnapped Charlie. During the conversation, Bishop manages to untie the rope by hiding a small knife inside his glove. The conflict erupted once again, and they fought fiercely on the docks. Thomas finally pushed Bishop and kicked him hard into the sea. He then used Bishop's car and drove off searching for his daughter. Elsewhere, Cooper seems to have found Charlie's hideout. He and his men can disable the police guarding the place and injure Stacy.
Don't be afraid.
Meanwhile, Thomas, who has also arrived at Charlie's hideout, sees a large number of Cooper's men stationed outside and kills them one by one. However, as he prepared to enter, Bishop suddenly appeared and challenged him once again, and a fight ensued. After a fierce battle, Bishop was finally killed. Thomas then grabbed a knife and entered the room, where Charlie was seen with Cooper and his assistant. With his gun drawn, Thomas told Cooper to let Charlie go. Cooper quickly got up and told Thomas to point his gun at his daughter. But Thomas couldn't do it. He then threw his gun on the floor. Seeing his terrified daughter, Thomas threw the knife he had picked up, then jumped up to get his gun and shot at Cooper's assistant. Apparently, the knife hit Cooper in the stomach, and he died soon after. Charlie then rushes over to her father and hugs him. Finally, Thomas manages to save Charlie, and they will live happily ever after.